So let's start first kind of getting to know the audience. So these are the instructions to connect to Mentimeter. And I was just curious to know, how much do you know about labor-based grading? Like, you have used it, I have heard about it, or is something new to you? So it's something, for most of you, it's something new. So I was in this category probably until the last year when I jumped into this category. So what is labor-based grading? It was introduced in 2009 by Asaobi Inoue in English writing courses. Okay, and it has been widely adopted mostly in the art, social science, and humanity courses. And the main idea is that grades are based on the amount of work the students are doing. So not in the perceived quality of that work. So if they do the work, they will get a grade. And if they do more work, then get a higher grade. So that's how it works in labor-based grading. And if you attend the plenary this morning, labor-based grading shares a lot of the benefits with on-grading. And lots of these, the benefits I was mostly concerned about, it was the first three. So students are really concerned about grades. So they are just doing assignments to say, I'm going to get an A with this assignment. So I wanted to reduce that so that there is no grade-related anxiety and stress, and also to promote academic honesty. So basically, my idea was that if they are not concerned whether they are getting the correct answer, then they can relax and try things out. Because basically, if they try the things and they submit everything that we ask them to try to do, even if it's not perfect, they will get the full credit for that assignment. And eliminates biases in grading. This is mostly from the humanities, so it's not the perception of how I think the quality of the work is, or the TA is, that's not there. So basically, if the instructions are followed, they submit the amount of work that they were supposed to submit, then they will get the full credits. And in another, in this paper, they also argue that it promotes decolonization, but I didn't focus on that in the computer science course. So when I started doing this, I thought, let's see what other people have done in the STEM, okay? Because I was reading at the English courses, archaeology courses, and I say, okay, how we adapt this? So I went and do a kind of literature review, and based on what I was able to find, I could only find these two papers. One in computer science from the 2023, and one in physics from this year, 2024. So I adapt a lot what I did based on what I did in that paper. So, where did I did it? I was teaching this course, Computer Science 3202, Computer Science 6950, Introduction to Machine Learning in the winter. There are 85 students. There are a combination of third-year computer science students and graduate students. And it was in a classroom that has lecture capture, so lecture capture was enabled, which means that the students don't have to come to class to see the presentation. Depending on whether they were undergrad or grad, 35 to 30% of final grade was labor-based grading. So this was for the graduate, 30%, because they have to do an extra thing as graduate students. So what was the work that they have to be done? They have to do 4 assignments, 1 weekly learning log reflecting on their learning. I was extremely nervous about this learning log because that's not something that computer science do. Like we don't ask them to reflect on the learning of kind of write things. So I was okay. So, and this is a hybrid approach. So it was not, all the course was not labor-based grading. It was only the assignments and the logs component. Yeah, I even wanted to go full on it. So basically, this is what is called the contract. I explained this to the students the first day of the class. So, for example, for a student to get an A grade, and the A grade is 84%, so it's not 100%, it's 84%, they have to complete the 4 assignments, but they are allowed to submit 1 late. Okay, and this submission late is because if they miss something from the assignment, they could resubmit and then it will still be an A. So basically that's, or if they couldn't submit on time, they have extra time to submit, and it will be okay. And the learning logs, they were 10 weekly learning logs, and they must complete two. Two of them were allowed late, and well, one was allowed to be not submitted. And so on. So the students will know exactly where they were and what will be the grade. And the grades were discrete. So it was 84, 74, 64, and 54. And if you are wondering how I choose those, it was in the middle of the range. So from 84 is in the middle. That's how I got with the 84. And I also have 3 additional assignments. So these were worth 4 points each, and they were available to achieve a higher grade, up to 96%. And then I was giving extra bonus points in class activities for something that they did extra in the assignment. So there were lots of bonus points given. Okay, so that if somebody might get to the 100%. So learning logs. This was the learning logs. So there were the instructions. There are no right or wrong answers. Short answers are perfectly okay. And these 2 questions were optional. So it was a question about what they have learned and how well they were describing their understanding, any struggles so far, and why they were struggling. And this was anything that they found particularly enjoyable, engaging, or interesting in the course. And suggestions, what they suggest to improve the course. So let's see, if you were having to do this learning log every week, how would you feel? You will like doing them, don't mind doing it, or actually hating doing them? Okay, good. So I was really afraid that most of my students will be here. So that was I was thinking, okay, this is going to be, I don't know. So, oh, there was one. Yeah, okay, so there was one that, yeah, so most of you will be okay with them. And that one I was hoping, like, okay, maybe everyone is going to be okay with doing them. Learning logs were such a variety, and I'm not expecting you to read this, it's just an example. So some students, and remember, it was totally optional, they could submit very brief answers. Some students, they give a complete summary of what we have seen that week with bullet points. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Other students will be like 1 sentence point, okay? And did you have any struggle? No. So like this. And there was a lot in between. And I went through all these learning logs every week, kind of reading. And again, I don't have to grade any, it was just to kind of see how the students were doing. So I am a data nerd, so I want to see, okay, what is going on with this course? So I compared with the previous offering of the course. I have this the same course in the winter of 2022. More or less the same amount of students, so 95 students. This is with the labor-based grading. And I was saying, okay, what can I compare? The main take-home message is that they were not big difference. Okay, so I checked whether they were completing more the assignments, a little bit in the labor-based grading, but not a significant difference. The learning logs, most of them were doing the learning logs. Like 95% they were doing the learning logs every week. The additional assignments, only kind of half of the students took advantage of the additional assignments. So they were 3, and half of the students on average did each of them. The average grade in the assignment logs, it was also higher in the labor-based grading, but the final grade was not substantially higher. Because some of the things that I have heard against labor-based grading is that there is an inflation in grades. It didn't seem to happen in this course. So with the numbers, it seems there is not a lot of difference, actually. I have an anonymous survey at the end of the course. I wanted to include these questions in the CQ, but I was not allowed to do it. So I have in Brightspace an anonymous survey, and 70.6% of the students went and respond to the survey. So I wanted to know the benefits that I was more interested. So did this way of grading the assignments kind of relax them and they could just focus on the learning goals instead of the grade. It seems for the ones that they answered, the majority say yes. I can see that there were some students that really hate labor-based grading. So the purpose of the learning log was that they kind of review the material and reflect how well do I know this content. So most of the students agree that the weekly learning logs help them review the material. And basically the final question was, did labor-based grading enhance your learning? And again, most of the students from the 73% from the 17 that responded survey, they say yes. So the students seem to be positive about labor-based grading. What I learned, so the learning logs were kind of an eye-opening for me. In my mind, the students were with me all the time. Like, we are seeing this, all the students are seeing the same material, right? No. With lecture capture, I saw a 2 weeks gap. So some students were behind 2 weeks from the others. And that was surprising to me. And basically, maybe that's how the course is designed, because I have quizzes that they can have to complete every week. And there are small 5-minute quizzes, but they have to complete about what we have seen the previous week. So some students were kind of catching up, and that's the 2 weeks gap. But yeah, so some students were telling me that they have learned what we have seen 2 weeks before in the course. There is a great source of continuous feedback to the instructor, so I can see where they are struggling, what is wrong, and I would like to find a way to give this continuous feedback also back to the students. Students have lots of suggestions in these learning logs, and sometimes they are brutally honest. And they want more, like they want more comics, more image, more examples, more case studies, more videos, more simulations. This was kind of a consensus. They want more of all of these. With the math, some they say more math, and some they say less math. Okay, so it's also with I am joint appointed with biology, so a lot of my examples come from biology. And some students, they really hate that. They say, like, stop doing the obscure biology example. But some of them were like, oh, this is amazing. I can see how it's applied to other things. So there are things that are very in disagreement with this last class. And they love the polling questions that I have. And I have some reset breaks. So 1 minute, stand up, stretch, let's go back to sit. They love those. So it's a lot of feedback there. So they seem to work well, so I will continue doing it. No evidence of grade inflation, and it seems that the students were positive about it. And with this, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Normally I sometimes I walk around the room with a microphone, but I don't think that's, we don't have that in this particular room. So I would ask, if you have a question, please speak up or project yourself, because the microphone is actually the top of the room. Okay, so any questions?
Great presentation, thank you. So you said about 30 to 35% of the final mark was labor-based grading. In the future, would you like it to be more or less, and why, or the same?
I have a lot of things in this course. Like we have the quiz, we have final exam. For the grad students, they have other things. So I probably will keep the same. I might try to do other things, like maybe retake the quizzes, weekly quizzes, so that they have an option to resume it and kind of correct what they have done wrong. So I might start including this kind of thing for other aspects of the course, but the percentage, I will keep it the same. Yeah. Yes.
You have undergrad and grad students. Did you find one group received the label-based grading more receptively than the other group?
I didn't ask anything separately to the groups. What I have noticed is that the grad students were more focused into do the additional assignments because they wanted to have higher grade. So they were more worried about getting that 100%. And I have students that came to me and said, like, this is not fair. I can only get to 96. Like, oh, okay. So you can have bonus points, you can have other things. So the grad students seem to be more worried about getting to that 100%. Yeah. And maybe there are, well, no, maybe there are a lot more pressure because they have to have 65% to pass the course, and they have to have at least a 75% to keep their funding. So maybe grad students, they have a lot more outside pressure into having good grades. But I noticed that, so grad students were more getting to that 100.
So Norma and I work in the Faculty of Education, and we are here today to talk with you about a tool we use in Brightspace, the video assignment tool, and we use it to resist what we call the Apprenticeship of Observation. So I'm going to dive right in here. A bit of context. We're actually going to cite some research from way back in the 70s and 80s, but we still find it quite interesting and useful. So in 1975, Dan Lourdes studied 94 teachers in the Boston area, and he wanted to create a social portrait of what do teachers do? How do they work together? What is their sort of social milieu, and how does it inform what they do in the classroom? And he has lots of interesting findings. I recommend the book, but among those, he coined this term Apprenticeship of Observation. And basically, I think this will be pretty familiar to everyone here, just from your own experience working in classrooms. Pre-service teachers have spent, so when they come into our Faculty of Education, they have already spent thousands of hours in classrooms, right? So unlike someone who's studying to be a doctor or a lawyer, you know, they just sort of have a new entry to the profession. Teachers already have experience, right? They come with a lot of experience, but it's only on one side of the desk. So they don't really know what's going on inside teachers' heads. They just see, you know, sort of the stage view, I guess you could say. With this partial understanding, they don't necessarily have like the theory and the background that to understand how teachers make their decisions. They really only see the front view. And why this is important is because it's really hard to change practice, because you kind of pre-service teachers, and this happened to me when I was a beginning teacher, you come in with some default settings, and those default settings are what or how you teach. When I was a first-year teacher, my principal was like, what are you doing? You know, this is not how you teach, right? So it was very humbling, but I experienced the Apprenticeship of Observation myself firsthand. Okay.
So when we think about content, we come to a university and we learn our content. We learn, for us, teaching reading is our expertise area. So we teach that course to undergrad students. So they have the knowledge, and then we also teach methodology courses. And Shulman, 1987, brought in, he wanted to do research on how do we merge that content knowledge plus the pedagogy, because we know a lot of people who are brilliant in their area, but they cannot communicate it effectively for students. So how do we get that expertise? And so Shulman brought together, bringing together the what and the how versus having them separate. He brought them together into the pedagogical content area. And right now across Canada, we are seeing a big shift from whole language approach to teaching reading to more skills-based structured literacy. So how do we teach students that content in regards to our reading development program? When we're planning our assignments, we really want to build in that content, but we also want it not to be just theory. We want to know that our master's students and our undergrad students have the knowledge to be able to take that content and convey it in a way that students can grasp it. So that's engaging and it's fun and it's current, using evidence-based current research as well. So we've been building that muscle memory of bringing content and pedagogy together. So an example of how we've done that is through our assignments. And our assignments, I'm sure when students first see them, they groan, they go, oh my gosh, all this content. Our assignments are like 4 or 5 pages long because we want students to understand the why. Not only the what, we want them to understand the why and the what so that then they can start building in the how. How do I build this into instruction? How do I show that I have mastered this course content and that I can apply it in a classroom? So think alouds, for example, is one of our effective strategies that we know works in teaching reading. So we modeled it, think aloud. in our video recording, we actually get students to record their think aloud. So as they're doing a read aloud, and you're going to see videos in a moment of how students model this for their own classrooms. So we do the cognitive linguistic skills. We're also looking at then applying that to reading development and comprehension. Ultimately, everything we do in reading, we want students to be able to comprehend it in the end. So the students have to choose a target grade. They focus on a comprehension skill, whether it's from predicting, inferring, cause and effect. It can be any comprehension strategy that we've taught in 6471. So again, going back to the theory and the content. Then we want students to pick a book that means something or that's relevant to their curricula, and they record a video. And we get a lot of positive feedback, which Jeanne is going to talk about. But we even provide some examples of comprehension strategies, thinking skills. Our assignments are very explicit, so students know what the expectations are and how to bring it together.
Okay, yeah, and as Norma said, the assignments are often quite long. Sometimes that's the only document that I can be really sure my students are going to read super thoroughly, is the assignment document. So here are some examples, as Norma mentioned, of the types of skills we're asking them to model. And they're going to make an 8-minute video. I'm not going to show you that long of a video. And then they have to complete like a little table that basically says, well, here's what I did on the left-hand side, and here's why I did it on the right-hand side. So they actually provide like a evidence-based rationale for their decision. And then we have a rubric that we use to evaluate that. And of course, all of this is included in the assignment itself. So I had permission from several students to use their videos, and we've selected 2. So this one, this is Joanne Hamlin, and she is going to model here a think aloud on a book called Willow Finds a Way, which is a book about how a young girl manages a bullying situation. And her lesson is modeled for children ages 6 to 8. So I'm going to really hope that the audio is working on this. Let's see. I actually don't know that it's going to.
When an expert reads, it looks like they're just saying the words that are written down, but secretly inside their brain, they're collecting evidence and figuring out what the writer's message really means. We do this by asking questions and making connections to things we already know, making inferences and predictions, and then summing up all that evidence so we know what the story is all about. Today, I'm going to read you a story, but instead of keeping all that thinking a secret, I'm going to do it out loud so you'll see how it works. The story I'm going to read is.
I love that. She introduces this book by telling her students exactly what she's going to do, that she's going to be sharing her thinking with them, and they're listening. Children love this. They love to learn what their teachers are thinking. So I'm going to give an example here of how she does some interpreting. So we're going to go to 2 minutes. And you can see on the right-hand side, she gives the timestamps here. So at 2 minutes, she's interpreting, and she's referring to the literature, to the Zweier's text, explaining basically why she's doing this. So let's see here.
Her heart thumped so loudly, Willow was sure the whole class could hear it beating. Oh, please let my name be there, she thought. Her heart was thumping loudly. When my heart is racing, it's because I'm worried or scared about something. Maybe she's worried that she won't be on the list. Please let my name be there. Yeah, that's definitely it. She wants her name. She wants to go to that fancy party. When her eyes reached the bottom of the list, she was almost.
So you can hear how she makes a connection to her own experience, and she's literally modeling how she interprets the character's reaction to being on the birthday invitation list, which in the end she is on the list. So in case you were worried. Okay, so this example, this is our second and last example. This teacher created a think aloud for a grade 5 classroom using the book, The Teacher's March, How Selma's Teachers Changed History, which is based on the 1965 Civil Rights March in Selma, Alabama, that teachers participated in. So I'm just going to show you a bit here toward the end. And he is going to be doing some comparing. So he's comparing what he learned in the book to another text or experience. Let's see, I want to get this pretty close.
Reverend F.D. Reese taught science at R.B. Hudson High School, but his favorite subject was freedom. He believed that everyone was a Reese and the teachers marched. Other groups started marching for their right to vote. Beauticians and barbers marched, then the undertakers marched. Because Reverend Reese and the teachers marched, they became heroes to their students. It didn't matter the kids were too young to vote. They intended to march for their teachers and their parents' right to vote. You know, this reminds me of something from Terry Fox. Terry Fox really wanted to do something. He believed in something strongly, and he stepped out and he did it. And it inspired other people to do things as well. It inspired millions of school children to walk to raise money for cancer research. Reverend Reese, because he believed so strongly in voters' rights, he did something. He organized this March for Teachers. It couldn't have been easy for Terry Fox. Like, he was basically walking a marathon every single day, and he only had one leg, and his leg hurt and his body hurt, but he still kept doing it because he thought it was really important. And Reverend Reese and the teachers, it wasn't easy for them. They were hit with clubs, and they were scared that they were going to lose their jobs, but they marched because they believed in something. See, boys and girls, when we're reading, sometimes it's good to compare two things that are similar. In this case, I'm comparing Terry Fox to the story that we're reading. They both believed in something strongly, and they both acted, and it both caused other people to do something as well.
And that's Dave Collins, who's also a student in our program. Okay, so that's all we have to share for you today. I'm trying to keep it nice and short and concise. So thank you so much for having us this morning. Look forward to it. Hi, Ed.
Question about your rubric.
Yeah.
Did you complete the rubric or did the students complete the rubric?
That's a good question. We did complete the rubric ourselves. Of course, we do have it available for students, you know, and we discuss it when we're introducing the assignment and so forth. But I think it'd be a nice addition to have students complete it themselves. I mean, honestly, we don't see all that much variation in this assignment. Like, students tend to they tend to do well. You know what I mean? But it's a good idea.
For teachers.
Yeah.
Teachers. Yeah.
I meant you.
Well, they are definitely.
Well, I have had students complete different rubrics before, and their marks tend to be lower than what I give. I found when I do the self-assessment, which is interesting.
Just curious if you've used Think Alouds for any other skills, like writing or maybe listening.
I teach the 6641 teaching writing as well, and we've done the Think Alouds and the video recordings in that. We also do video conferences in that course where students from across Canada get together and share their ideas and model how they teach different writing skills. So we've used video conferences in that regard, and most positive feedback I've ever gotten as an instructor was in that course as well.
Thanks, everyone. Good morning. As Mark said, my name is Megan Malone. I'm the manager of the Commons. Unexpectedly filling in for Kate Gilbert this morning, who can't be here. For those who aren't familiar with the Commons, we're basically the main floor of the QE2 library. So we are the student collaboration tech workspace on the main floor of the library. So our mandate is really to provide students with access to the technical resources, but also the technical support, the technical skills development opportunities that they're going to need to succeed, not only academically, but also in their postgraduate lives. So in addition to kind of our core services, so computing support desk, where they can get technical support, digital media center, where they can access free multimedia equipment lending, video and editing software access. We also have our Makerspace, which is, if you're familiar with the main floor of the library, which I assume most are, it's sort of just around the corner from the Jumping Bean Cafe. So the Makerspace is a space where students can come, they can tinker, they can explore, they can really sort of let their creativity run wild and access the resources to bring those ideas to life. And they can really come to us at any point in the process. So whether it's sort of coming with, hey, I've just got this wacky idea, can you help? Hey, I want to create a Christmas gift for mom kind of thing, through to, we had a student a couple of years ago who was creating very specific equipment for sort of research-based work that he was doing that he couldn't find kind of an industrial solution for, and he was coming and printing them. We are open for drop-in services for students. We offer free workshops for students to come and attend. And I did just want to show this really quick video, under a minute. That I won't break anything. It's been so delicately set up. So this is just to sort of summarize some of the services available in the Makerspace. Thank you. The audio is just music, so we're not missing anything. So that's just kind of a taste of what we've got available back there. But what I really wanted to share with this group is that we also really encourage academic partnerships within our Makerspace. So that really allows instructors to kind of build formalized experiential learning opportunities into their course deliverables. So over the last number of years, we've collaborated with groups from education, HKR, English, to give students the opportunity to actually complete Makerspace-based projects for course deliverables. So they would come into the Makerspace, they would work with our staff, which is primarily students themselves, so they're getting that peer-to-peer support. They would get support learning whatever technology they needed to learn, whether that was a 3D design program, whatever. Get support all through kind of that iterative design process, and then be supported through the actual creation process as well. So I have brought a few examples. Sorry, I'm giving you a run for your money. So we will turn on the document cam for the people connecting remotely. This was from an HKR course where students were expected to build models of movable body parts and specifically joints. So obviously this one's not movable. It was kind of an initial prototype of a knee. So getting a feel for the size of the job, the intricacies of the bones and the joints. I'll keep moving and we can question. And I'll pass them around too. We'll do true show and tell.
Yeah, it should be around.
Awesome. Yeah. So for those kind of, ooh, I should have done my nails. Sure. Okay. Okay. I'm just so aware of time. I don't want to. This was also from that HKR course. So this one is really cool, kind of a fully articulate hand model with moving fingers, and you can see all the detail of Vanna White. Woo, of, you know, the nail and all of kind of the movable cartilage in the finger. So that was a final design that a student did. We had a geography class come through. So this is not that impressive, this close up. You'll have to take my word for it, people connecting remotely. So this was, students had to create topography maps of kind of a cove or harbor of their choosing around the province. This one was Maddox Cove. So they actually designed it in 3D, in virtual reality, and then printed it in 3D. So they actually kind of get the effect. And I can pass these around. I don't need to hoard them all. I don't have the example, but the group that we worked with in English was students specifically from, thank you, specifically from the Stage Techniques program and Screen Techniques diploma program. And so they created 3D printed gimbals, so to actually support cameras for some filming that they were doing. And this one wasn't an academic one, but I just think it's sweet. A little 3D printed row house design. And we actually do have a few new 3D printers that we've bought this year that will allow for multi-filament prints. So I want to get this reprinted and we can actually get some multiple colors of the row houses. So I'll pass that around too. But what I do want to impress is that these aren't traditional STEM courses, right? It's English and education and you know, very, very much non-STEM in focus. And so that's very much a mandate of our Makerspace, is we want to make it an encouraging and inclusive space for anyone. It's not just sort of for engineering students. So I'd really encourage any instructors who, you know, want to think outside the box, want to give their students these kinds of opportunities to really get creative and hands-on, because they'll blow you away with their creativity. And certainly to reach out to us to chat. So yeah, we're just Commons, COMMONS @one.ca. Absolutely reach out and we'd love to chat about some ideas.
Do we have any questions?
How much is the uptake of this? Like how much are the students, like how busy are you? Like,
Currently,
yeah.
so the Makerspace has definitely been a process to rebuild post-COVID. So most of our academic partnerships were pre-COVID. We tried as much as we could to kind of keep the steam going during COVID, of doing online workshops. You can't replicate a Makerspace virtually. So we've really been trying to rebuild our Makerspace since we came back. So we haven't gotten back to these academic partnerships since, but in terms of a drop-in service, we're pretty consistently busy. I think last year alone, we did over 500 3D prints. That's just the 3D printer. That's not all we have back there. And that's kind of student-driven projects. So the uptake is for sure.